Oh, man.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, I'm so excited. And I know. I say that all the time. I'm very excited. And I live my life trying to be excited. I think we all should at our, and I don't like to say at our age, but at our experience level. You know, we're still out there trying to kick it, still out there trying to live, still out there trying to do things. So we got to be excited about everything we do every day. And I'm excited about waking up every day. But you know what? I'm very excited about a guest we have on today. This guy has been in the martial arts industry, and it makes me feel good because I don't feel as old anymore or experienced anymore when you hear some other guys who've been in the industry for over 40 years. That's really cool. That means it's become a part of their lifestyle, and I like that. So with that, guys, I'm going to give you guys this guy is a 5th degree black belt in Tae Kwon Do, a 7th degree black belt in HapKido, and that says a lot right there. And he's also a 1st degree black belt in Muso Jikiden Eishin Ryu. I hope I'm saying that right. And he had 2 years of training of Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. And as you guys know, my experience, I've been out there for a while doing different things. And now I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-jitsu for the last couple of years. So I'm sure he will understand some of the pain I'm going through daily. But with that, I give you guys Todd Miller from out there in New Hampshire. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Tony. It's great to be on here with you today.
Oh, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're out there just not twiddling your thumbs, sitting around doing nothing.
Yes, it's a very busy life.
Right? But it's a good life, right?
It is. It is. Anytime we can do the things we love to do and, be involved in martial arts and fitness, it doesn't get much better than that.
Oh, my gosh. You said it, man. Like I was saying just now, I came from a training here about an hour and a half ago. I just finished up training, some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, and it's so funny being the oldest guy on – I'm sorry, the most experienced guy on the mat.
I like that.
There you go. And competing with these young guys, man, they are just tying me all kinds of knots, but I feel really good. Man.
Yeah, that's right. It's great to, as we age, we just find out that we actually have a lot of things that we can bring to the table. We may not have the strength that we had when we were 25 or 30, but just our experience is something that really adds to it. And a lot of times it helps the younger guys to see just how we handle things. When you're in a situation where you're getting tapped out, and we just do it with a smile on our face. We congratulate whoever made us tap out, and it's all good. It's all learning.
Absolutely, man. That you hit it right on the head. It's all learning. Everyone has a good attitude, and I don't know about you, but I've run across some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys out there. Some schools out there that's not the nicest. Everybody's got the egos, but it's so cool to be a part of a gym out here that there's no ego in the gym. Everybody's trying to learn, but they're running hard. And like you said, getting tapped out all the time. You know what? I ain't mad at it.
That's right. You keep going back, right?
I keep going back for more punishment, man. So, let's get this thing started. When did you start? Or what inspired you to start your journey in the martial arts?
Well, I got to be honest. What got me interested when I was a real young man, back in the 70s, I saw a movie called Billy Jack.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
That was the first experience I had with HapKido. And I loved the movie. I loved the whole, the experience of the movie, but I really loved the techniques that Tom Laughlin did in Billy Jack. And of course, that was choreographed, the fighting scenes, by none other than Bong Soo-han, who was a famous, HapKido and
oh wow,
in the early days in the United States. So that's kind of what got me started. Now, I didn't get a chance to start right away. It took me a number of years before I was able to get into HapKido and martial arts, but that was the seed. And of course the Bruce Lee movies, Chuck Norris, and all the early kung fu movies that we used to watch as kids.
We call it Kung Fu Theater, man. Used to be on Channel 66 on Saturday evenings, man.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure with Billy Jack, you remember that one scene. I love that scene when he said, "I'm gonna take this leg and I'm gonna kick you on that side of your face. There's nothing you're gonna be able to do about it." And I love that scene.
That's a classic.
Oh man! So, how old were you when you first started? I know that was your launch. Thinking about it then, but when did you first get on the mat?
I first got on the mat when I was 24, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, and my brother, who's a little bit younger than me, he started training in a HapKido school a little before I did, and I was like, oh wow, you found HapKido finally, and so I was living in New Hampshire at the time, and he was living up in Maine, of course, and I was looking around down here for HapKido, but there was nothing available in the area that I was living in. So I started training in a Tae Kwon Do school and ended up getting to my black belt. And then finally, a gentleman came into our school to work out with us, and he was a HapKido master. And so one thing led to another. And then I ended up actually studying with his teacher, Master Mike Wilmershauser from Massachusetts. So,
Okay.
and I spent
Okay.
many years training with him.
And you also went over to Korea and trained some too, right? Or no?
Yes, yes. I went over to Korea like 18 times in different training trips. I trained with, my Taekwondo teacher over there, and I trained in HapKido at a couple of different schools, and really love the culture over there. It's beautiful.
No, it really is. I've never been there, but my instructor, where I got my first degree black belt in Hapkido from Grandmaster Young Chim Pak out of Iowa at the time.
Yep.
And, you see in some what I would tell you, you see Hapkido now as opposed to then. It's changed a lot, don't you think?
It really has. It really has. And some of the changes are good changes. Like I think some of the teaching methods are maybe a little better than they were originally when I first started. But some things have gotten a little worse too, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, a little
But
watered down, as I say, a little watered
yeah,
down.
exactly. I know when I first started training, it was very hard training in Hapkido. That was, you were
Yeah.
getting thrown and locked up, and your joints would hurt, and
Oh yeah.
but it was good training. I'll never, I'll always be thankful for those early years that I had in Hapkido. So
Oh yeah, a good foundation, and and what year was that you started? What year was that?
it was like 1989.
Okay, those are the
Yep.
years, if I remember correctly, with no mats on the ground. Usually, it's usually carpet
Yeah.
and hardwood floors.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't have much for mats. I remember the first mat I got was a used one. It was a two 5x10 mats, and those were already worn out at that time. I bought them from a friend of mine that was a martial arts instructor, and I still have those mats today. Now they're not in very
Wow.
good shape, but I have them at the sentimental value.
Right, you don't roll around on those
No, I
things.
don't roll around on them anymore.
Oh my gosh. Now, when you came in there, when you stepped in and you saw, Hapkido, and you were thinking, is this going to be like Billy Jack and all that? What did it surprise you? Anything that it was a little different, or what?
His Hapkido was a little different than a lot of the Hapkido around, and we did some kicking, but it wasn't as much of the high kicking like Taekwondo.
Yeah.
So it was a little more low kicking and that kind of thing. And I think that's the original Hapkido. There was a little bit of kicking, a little bit higher kicking, but not much. It was mostly leg kicks,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. When I first saw Hapkido, also back in the day, which was the late '80s, early '90s, it was more like you're saying. It wasn't a lot of kicking. I think we had four kicks. The wheel kick, and I think it was a jumping snap kick at the time, or something like that. But
Sure.
there wasn't a lot of kicks, so we didn't have to be as flexible as a lot of guys have to be nowadays. So that was a blessing.
Right, right. Yeah, and one of the nice things about Hapkido that I liked is that it was, there was a lot of really practical self-defense, and again, that's what drew me to martial arts in the first place, was learning the self-defense and that kind of stuff. And I even Taekwondo, if practiced right, has a lot of good self-defense techniques in there.
Right.
But I really liked the Hapkido because it was hands-on, and it was ground techniques, it was stand-up techniques, it was close in, intermediary techniques, and I like that. I like to having something to draw from, no matter where you are in relation to your opponent.
Exactly. I tell you, Hapkido, when I don't know if you got a chance to listen to, our first podcast, but it
I
was
did.
explaining everything we went through, and, being in Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu, getting my first black belt at 16. And then when I went off to college to see Hapkido, it was just so similar to that. It was very graphic. It was very, joint locks and breaks. So it was like, wow, it was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Well, the
Yeah,
interesting thing about HapKido is that HapKido and Jiu-Jitsu both came from kind of the same place. It,
absolutely.
the founder of HapKido, Sul, studied with Takeda Sokaku. That's my belief. I know a lot of people might not agree to that and believe it, but I believe that that's where he trained. And so he trained in the same martial art at the same time as Moriai Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido.
Yes.
And even though Aikido and Hapkido are totally different arts, you can see the techniques are similar in how they are applied. Maybe not how they're applied, but how the actual technique is similar.
Very, very similar. I think Aikido is more of a, and I won't say a dance, but it's more flowy
Yeah,
than
it's more flowy,
yeah,
and I think a lot of what they've taken away, maybe the self defense part of it.
yeah,
One of the things that we always do in Hapkido is we work with our partner, but we also test the techniques to see if we can resist it. And we try to do it in a safe way so that we don't rip each other's shoulders out of socket, of course.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but we do resist, and we do try to fight the techniques a little bit, and we try to see if there's an opportunity for somebody to get a punch on you when you're doing the technique. If that's the case, then you're not doing it correctly.
Right, right. It makes sense though. But we look at, and I hate to bash any arts, but it is what it is. And I see a lot of arts today. It's more, it's about katas, and it's not about self-defense anymore. And I understand for children, I see the discipline in a lot of things, but I don't know if you
Yeah.
think like I do, where you see that the self-defense have gone out of a lot of different martial arts now.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I'm from the old school, and I always have to be reminded that things are different today. But I still believe that if you're training in a martial art, what's the first word in martial art? It's martial. It's a fighting style. It's
Mm-hmm.
to it's to save your butt when you're out on the street and you get attacked.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out on the street, then there really is no point in practicing it, in my opinion.
That's a great opinion. That's
And
a fact though.
there's a lot of other things that the martial arts give you. You can learn spiritual values. You can learn discipline. You can learn just a lot of really, really good things. Like in Tae Kwon Do, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit. Those are all great things to learn. And I think you need those when you're learning a self-defense where you could possibly hurt somebody.
Yeah.
But the self-defense really has to be kind of the top thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. It's self defense, And I see a lot of times out there, like, once again, I'm not bashing anything. You do what you're going to do out there. And I think everybody should do some form of martial arts. Learn something you can do in self defense, or just get out there and do whatever you're going to do to help you get off the couch and move. But I have
Exactly
seen,
right. Yeah.
seen a lot of stuff, over the 40 something years of being in martial arts. I've seen the watered down, I've seen the hardcore, I've seen the way we've transitioned to
Mm.
more of a, uh, I won't say hardcore, more of a nice. You got to be nice to everybody now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I
Right?
think
True.
one of the things that I always like when I was younger, and in my early years of training, we trained hard and we would hurt each other.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
but you know what? We did it with a smile on our face, and when we were all done, even if you get like a little injury, you'd always shake your partner's hand and you'd give him a
Yeah.
hug and you'd say, "Hey, man, that was great training. You really got me good there."
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. Now, as we age, we have to do things a little differently. But
Yeah.
originally, I like that. I always like that you train hard, and that's how you learn, and it's how you build
Right.
character too.
Oh, absolutely. I look at the youth today, and I'm not knocking the youth, but I see them today. They don't. I just don't see a lot of that stick to itness. I'm sure there is out there. I mean, the ones that are getting highlighted, they don't have a lot of drive. When it comes to
Right.
martial arts, they don't have a lot of. Everybody gets their belt. They just get promoted and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody gets a ribbon and everybody gets a
hmm
trophy, and it's a disservice to our youth because not everybody gets a trophy, and when you're talking about self-defense, not everybody goes home. Some
there you
people
go.
some people do not go home, and that's just the sad truth of life.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you see, and I still think it's great. I'll go out to the grocery store and I see all these little kids running around their black belts and walking through the store. And it's cute as all get out, but I'm always thinking, I could take his money. I bet I could. No.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Little 10-year-old kid. No, I'm just joking around. But
No, I know
but it
what you're
is good.
saying. No, I got to tell you, when I first started training, we were never like we were always taught you never wear your uniform unless you're going out to a demonstration. You never wear your
Absolutely.
uniform out of the school. You always walk in with your street clothes on. You put your dobok on. You put your
Yep.
belt on, and then you bow in and you do your training. And then you take it off and you put it in your bag and you walk out. Kind of in a reverent manner. But that's
Absolutely.
just how I learned. And I know every school is a little different, um, and
But
things
that's
have
old
changed a
school
little.
though.
Yeah.
That's old school, man. And I don't once again, I know we sound like these old guys back in the day. But
And
I
now
just
we're
think it
those
was
same guys saying that.
yeah, right? And why you had to stay off my lawn. But you
I
know
had
what
to
I
walk
tell you?
uphill both ways to my karate class.
That's right. Barefoot too, right? 3 feet
Yes,
of snow.
barefoot, right.
But the funny thing about that is when I was coming through the ranks when I first started martial arts, born and raised Southside Chicago, it wasn't barefoot uphill, but I had to get on the bus by myself and ride the
Wow.
bus an hour or so going to the west side and everything. It was insane. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
So a little scary too.
A lot scary, man. I had my
Yeah,
gi on my
yeah,
back there. It was so funny. But nowadays it's like, mommy, can you take me over there? Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Okay. But
yeah.
what was something like a defining moment? Let's say, for instance, when you started on the mat, you came in at 24. What made you say, you know what, I'm going to stick with this? I think this is going to be my foundation, or something you could grow with.
Well, I would have to say it was my first trip to Korea in 1997. I was really committed. Up until that point, I was a second dan when I went over for the first time, and I ended up testing over there for my third dan. And
Wow.
after just meeting the people, and I don't mean just the martial arts people, but the culture was just so different from what I experienced over here,
Hmm.
and that was really the point where I said, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow. Did you ever think you were going to be an instructor for this many years, or anything like
Um,
that? Or
I when I first started, I said, "Geez, I want to be an instructor." I don't even think I
okay.
had got a yellow belt yet, and I just loved it because I've always been an active person. I did sports in high school, and I used to run all the time. That was just how I grew up, and so it was pretty early when I said I want to be an instructor. But did I ever realize that I would do it for 30 or 40 years? I don't think so. I think that. Um, that didn't happen until much, much later.
Okay, got it. Well, you know what? That says a lot, though, man. It sparked you at an early age, man. Wow. And you also went into, did you do HapKido and Taekwondo at the same time or different
I
times?
did. I did because I've continued my Taekwondo training. My major focus has been Hapkido for the last 20, 25 years.
Okay.
But I've still continued with my Taekwondo because that's normally what I'll teach to the kids. I am going to be starting teaching HapKido to kids here soon, but we're just working on the curriculum to do that in a safe way. But
Yeah.
but but
Yeah.
it was always something that I loved and I believed in because I know it helped me a lot. It really helped me to get my focus, to have a healthy body, and to develop a healthy mind. That was kind of
Right.
one of the things that kept me going in training. Because you know how it is, especially when you're doing jiu-jitsu or hapkido or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, any of those kind of martial arts where you're getting your body's getting beat,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not always easy to say I just can't wait to go do that today every single day. Um,
Absolutely.
but there's something that makes us go back for it and keep going back, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just, after a while you just get used to it, but there's something deep inside that hits us when we just have to go,
Right.
even
But
when
that
we're
makes
not
sense.
feeling it.
You don't feel like want to go. That's every day, man.
Yeah. Yeah. There's times when you're sore. Like I remember in your first podcast, you say, sometimes I'm sore. I don't want to go. And it's the same. Everybody, I think everybody I've ever known or talked to has kind of said, yeah, it's just not all, you don't want to do it every day, but you do it, unless something comes up where you can't. But
Right.
you do it every day and you commit to it. And that's what it takes to get at a higher level. Now, maybe not everybody is going to do that. Maybe some people are just going to do a class or two a week, maybe three. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That, everybody's got to do what they can and get something out of it. But
Yeah. Yeah. You're
if you're
right,
going to
man.
stay in it for 40 years, you got to really commit to it, I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because I think every martial arts, or anybody, any athletics doing anything, but for martial arts, there's always a day I believe that we think about quitting.
Yeah.
It's just oh man, everything's hurt, and I've reached some levels that I wanted to. Why keep going back? And I just like you just said, we just have to keep going back. That's pretty cool, man. You
Mhm.
think that way. That is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Now, do you have a lot of injuries from over the years? Are you like everybody else with jam fingers, wrists, shoulders,
Yeah,
backs?
I've had a couple of fairly serious injuries. In 1999 in Korea, I got my shoulder dislocated,
Oh wow.
and it was a HapKido technique, and that laid me back for I had to stop training for a while, and I actually owned a school at the time, so it was very difficult. I wasn't able to do technique, so I had to have help from some of my students and whatnot. But that was probably the most serious one. But I've had other injuries like knee issues here and there, and a couple of knee surgeries, and
Oh,
one wrist surgery. But other than that, I've been pretty healthy.
okay. Everything's falling apart. Other than that, I'm awake,
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of rebuilt, but other
Yeah.
than that,
Dirt in your face today. You wake up every day. That's awesome, man. But if like you said earlier, if you're in the martial arts and you're training something hard, you're gonna have injuries, But I
yeah.
still think that, just for children's sake, I think martial arts is safer than a lot of the footballs and everything else they're doing out there. It's still
Well,
very safe.
I don't remember who did this study, but there was a study done, and martial arts was one of the safest types of sport that children can do because of the discipline. If it's a good school and they're teaching, about self-control and teaching a good curriculum, there really is not a lot of injuries compared to other sports such as football, even basketball,
Right.
you know, soccer. There's a lot of injuries in soccer, and I know that's a popular sport, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I know I see a lot of that coming through, especially when I had my schools. The parents would say, hey, how long does this season last for martial arts? Because little Billy needs to do, football or something or soccer this season. They never understood. And I tell them, I say, hey, this is safer than putting them into all the other stuff. Just let them stay in this class. It's not a
yeah.
season to what we do.
Right, and I get the same thing, and I always say our season is from December to January,
There
year
you
round,
go. All year
or
round.
January to December, and I encourage kids to do other sports too, because I think it's important for the kids and the parents to see how martial arts helps with other things. It
Yeah,
helps with other sports, but it also helps with school, how they respect teachers.
absolutely.
And again, that's if it's being taught correctly. And I think that's really a super important. I'm all about self-defense, but
Yeah.
you got to have that character side of it in order for it to all work together and meld together.
Oh, absolutely. Especially at a young age coming through. And I think that's the benefit of the young age.
Yeah.
They get to learn all those foundational things to do. Now, when you started, and I was looking at the art that you wrote, that you sent over I hope I said it right. Muso Jikiden Eishin Ryu.
You got
Can
it.
you? I said it
Yeah,
right. All right, I'm
you
good.
did. You nailed it. Good
I'm
job.
a master level now.
You are.
Now, what does that art encompass?
Well, it's kind of the short term for that is Aikido, which is the art of drawing the sword.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. You know, yes, sir. I know that one. Yeah.
yeah, and it's EA Jitsu is another term for it, but it's the same. It's really the same thing. Some people might argue that, but overall they do the same forms and techniques and cutting, and basically that's if it's a traditional school, you do a lot of form work, a lot of partner work, and then you also do kamishigiri, where you're cutting, the goza mat and bamboo
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff. I did that along with my HapKido training when I was in Korea. So that was kind of part of the HapKido. But it was a separate. I mean, it was a separate Dan ranking and everything like that. But one of the
Okay.
things that a lot of people don't realize is HapKido came from the sword. All the techniques that we do in HapKido, there's an equivalent having a sword in your hand, having a jangbong in your hand or a jo staff. Everything that we do, all the techniques are all derived from sword work. So,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, and it's not really taught a lot in modern Hapkido, but I know my teacher that I train with now, Grandmaster Park, I should say, he is really good about teaching all the different aspects of using the sword, using the jangbong, and how the techniques and the weapons work together. They're the same basic principle for everything, and I really like that. That's one of the reasons that I have been training with him for 5 years now.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. Now, like you, it seems like you've stuck mostly with the Korean arts as opposed to the Japanese arts. They are very similar, but is there any reason why, or is it just the way that's what you saw first, and you fell in love with it first? Does it matter?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. When I first started training in Korean martial arts, and when I went over to Korea in 1997 for the first time, I just fell in love with the Korean culture, um, and I like the Korean arts. I don't understand Korean really well, but I know the
Mhm.
terminology, the counting, and all that stuff. So not that that's a good reason, but it's
Yeah.
I've just stuck with the Korean arts. I don't have anything against any Japanese or Brazilian Jiu-jitsu or anything. I know a lot of people that train in it. We're all good friends. It's just the
Yeah.
Korean arts are kind of my thing, and
That's cool.
yeah,
That's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Everybody's drawn to something. Out there. I
yeah,
got a buddy of
exactly.
mine who's he's got I forget what it's called. It's in kung fu. It's some level in kung fu. They changed his whole name and everything else. And
Mm,
he loves kung fu, and I'm like, hey, okay, that's cool with me. You're doing the
yeah,
arts, and it's really cool, man. Now,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's not every art is for every person. I
Hmm.
love Hapkido, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else. But not everyone is for Hapkido isn't for everybody. There's some people that just really like. Like Taekwondo, there's people that
Hmm.
really that will stick with Taekwondo for 50, 60 years and they love it. And
Yeah,
I do too. I like Taekwondo as much as the next person, but my love is for Hapkido. And
that's cool.
that's just everybody has a different thing that they're really drawn to, and that's the great thing about it. We all have choices, and especially here in the United States, we have arts from all over the world, and they're everywhere. You can find something from almost every culture, um, pretty much in every community.
You're absolutely right. You're
You know,
absolutely right. And I love where you said that, man. It's something for everybody. It's just a big pool of, people are learning, and I see a lot of people like yourself that love certain things that I would think, I don't like that, but that's not me. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
And one of the things that I really like about today that where back when we first started, probably I'm sure it was the same for you, but back in those early days, your school was the only you didn't talk with people from other schools.
No, not at all. Not
It
at
was like
all.
you guys are less than we're I'm Taekwondo, you're karate. Oh, you guys, we don't hang out with you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
But
But the funny thing
now
about it, we saw the same guys at all the same tournaments every week, So you saw the same other guys at the same places. It was funny.
yeah. But the nice thing about now is that it doesn't matter what martial arts somebody does. You can be friends with them and you can
Yeah.
learn things from them. It's nice to be able to have that kind of friendships. And tournaments have been, a big thing for that. You go to a tournament, you go how many times a year, and you see the same people, just as you
Yeah.
said. And
Yeah.
why not be friends with them rather than enemies?
Exactly, man. It's a small world, but a large world. You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
I tell you, one that I was reading the name of the art that we were just talking about, the Muso Jikiden, and I was just like, I remember art that I learned because I was always looking to learn something. It was
Mm.
called Kanishi Ru Aikido Senjutsu.
Okay. Yep.
Go and ask me what is it?
What is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I remember doing that. That was one of the times I was in Iowa, and I was looking for a place to train, and I found that place, and I think I even got to a yellow belt doing it, and I think it was a mixture Aikido and karate. I think it was, but
Yeah.
just look
Yeah.
at those some of those names are just funny things you do over the. I don't think it's. I mean, not knocking it. It was just very unique, just like that one the long name there. I just think, hey, it's very unique,
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how is your training today as opposed to back then? Are you still training every day for the most part?
Yeah, every day. I usually take one day off a week, just to let my body rest. But and I teach classes, so I kind of distinguish between my personal training
Mhm.
and my teaching training, because I train with my students when I'm teaching. I get out there and I do the stuff with them. I have to demonstrate, and I let them do techniques on me, and that's just how I learned, and that's how I like to do it. But my personal training, I usually try to do it early in the morning. So
Okay.
how it's changed is I have to be focused more on my body and listening to my body, because I'm going to be 60 this year.
Oh,
and
wow. Awesome, man.
I know that if I'm reckless and aren't very focused, I'll get injured. And when you get injured as an older person, it takes longer to heal, and I just don't have the time
Yeah.
to do that, honestly.
Yeah. And I get it.
I want
Yeah.
to be be moving forward and each day, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the best way to look at it. You wake up every day and you understand you still want to be out there, but you got to be cautious, and you got to move a certain way. Not be scared cautious, but just, hey, I got to be, like you said, you guys got to be aware and focused on what
Right.
you're doing,
Right.
you
And
know.
one of the things that I've noticed as I've gotten older is, we still, like, the organization that I'm with, the HapKido Federation, we still get together for monthly trainings, at our headquarters in Baltimore.
Oh,
And,
wow.
we do weekend long trainings where we're training, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and then sometimes 12 or 14 hours over a weekend. And, when you get to be our age, that's a lot of training, and it's difficult, especially with any HapKido or Jiu-Jitsu kind of training. It takes a lot out of the body, because, especially when you're falling, you're getting
Oh, yeah.
thrown, and just the getting up and falling down is quite a lot of stress on the body.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so I,
Absolutely.
I just had to adjust my intensity, not that I don't work hard, but I know my own body, and I have to just, know how much energy I have, and
Yep.
then use it accordingly so that I can get through and not get injured. And that's just something that I've kind of learned how to do over the years, and it's served me well.
Well, that's smart though. That's extremely smart, because we're not, I know we like to think we're as young as we used to be. We have the spirit of a 29-year-old, but
Exactly.
but we have to realize, all right, let me take it easy here.
Our bodies just haven't got that yet.
Oh, exactly. And it's at the school that I go to now for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They have all these like tournament trainings and advanced trainings, and I'm always like, yeah, I'm gonna go to that. Then I have to tell myself, Tony, you're not doing all this. Calm down. Go to your regular classes.
Right,
Because you still
right.
want to say, yeah, you still want to jump in there and do as hard as you can. Then you're out for
Yeah.
a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the tough thing, because I can tell, Tony, that you have passion for it, and I'm the same way. I have a lot of passion for what I do, or
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done it this long.
that's
But,
true.
it's using wisdom with that passion, and you got to kind of find a melding of the two, so that you can train every day, get the most out of your training, but also not injure yourself, and
Hmm.
not get to the point where you're I don't know, losing your mind, because it's hard on the body, and it's hard to focus like that when you're doing that kind of training. It really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, and it's a mental thing when you start. I mean, just for me personally, when I feel myself like today, when I jam my finger really hard into the mat, doing a sweep on a guy, and I jam my finger, and I was like, oh dang it! So the buddy had to pull it out, And my instructor was like, all right, well, just sit out, don't roll anymore. And I was like, but I want to get back in there. And he was like, just tape your fingers up and sit down.
Yeah, right,
I was just
right.
like, oh man, but it's that mental thing that like, oh, I want to get back, but that's just ego. That's all it is, and we have to control that ego at our age. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. I got to tell you, that's so true. You know, our ego is part of us, but we can't let it control us. And that's what I try to strive for is, I know that I have an ego, but I need to keep it under control and,
Yeah,
temper it with wisdom.
exactly. I love that. I'm gonna steal that and put it on a shirt.
You got
I like that.
it.
I like that, brother. Now, do you do anything else outside of martial arts for fitness? Do you need like special nutrition that you're doing, or anything like that? Any weightlifting or?
You know what? I used to do more weightlifting, and I got to tell you, I got more injuries from weightlifting than I did from martial arts. So I pulled back a little bit from the weightlifting. In my morning daily workouts, I do push-ups every day. I do crunches, and I use one of those ab wheels,
Oh
and I
yeah.
yeah, and I got to tell you, I started doing that recently, and man, that's a heck of a workout on your abs. Does a lot of good strengthening. But I try to keep my exercise and fitness. It's within my martial arts training, and I do a lot of stuff with we do a lot of training with the Jang Bong, which is the short
Mm-hmm.
staff,
Yep.
and I just do a lot of slow training, and that's working my muscles and stretching and that sort of thing. So it I don't really do anything other than martial arts for that. But I do,
Okay.
I guess push-ups, that could be
That's
anything.
still conditioning. Yep. Yep. That's still
Yeah,
conditioning. Yeah.
but I have
Oh,
found that conditioning as an older person, that just to get back to that, conditioning is one of the biggest things for us to stay healthy. If we let our conditioning drop, that's when injuries happen because your body's not ready to do the kind of things that we're going to be doing, especially with
absolutely.
the types of arts that we train in.
Absolutely. That's why stretching is so important.
Yeah.
I started doing a stretching routine here probably like a couple months ago. And I used to never stretch a lot until I listened to, I don't know if you've heard of David Goggins.
Yes,
I
I
listened
have. Yep.
his book that Can't Hurt Me. That was an amazing book. You ever get a chance to read that book? I don't know if you have or not, but if you ever
I
get a
have
chance to,
not, but I will.
oh,
I will look it up.
oh, man, and when you do it on a book on tape or whatever you call it, audio
Audio.
book.
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah,
read a lot of my books. Right.
so do I.
Yeah.
In there, it's so cool
Audible.
the way Audible. That's it. And
Yeah.
the way he does it is halfway through it, as the guy's talking, they stop it at an important part, and him and the other guy they talk through it. What
Yep.
happened? What was his mindset? And I love the way they did that. But he talks about doing stretching. I think he says, if I'm not, don't quote me, but I think he says he stretches for like 6 or 7 hours a day. I'm like, how does that happen? But
Yeah. Wow.
he believes how strong he's that big into stretching. So I started doing a stretching routine. And I'm telling you, other than martial arts stuff, but I mean like regular stretching, I'm telling you, if you're doing some of that, man, I think it's going to help you a lot. It's helped me.
Oh yeah. 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 Well, look at like yoga. A lot of people believe that yoga was once a martial art.
Really? Okay.
And and so there's yoga is a very healthy way to increase your body strength and just to be a
Yeah.
healthier person. So
Yeah, it makes sense. It all helps, and I think once again at our experience level, I'm doing quotation marks over here. At our experience level,
yeah,
I think all those things can help us out. I don't know if you're a religious man or not, but I am. But the Bible says
yep.
120 years, and I want all 120, but healthy. You know what I mean?
Amen, brother. I'm right there with you. I'm a firm believer in that too.
Exactly, man. And but you know what? Like we're saying, as long as we're staying active, this is one so cool thing about me doing this podcast, or I'm saying us doing this podcast, is that I've got a chance to talk to a lot of guys like yourself that still has that passion, that spirit, and they're still out there. So we don't feel as alone. Because a lot of time I would think, man, I'm too old for this stuff. Then I look around and see all these other guys. I'm like, man, that guy's older than me. He's still out there doing it, So it brings
Yeah,
us all together, man.
yeah, and there's not a lot of people when you look at all of society. There's not a lot of people like us that are still out there training after this, 30, 40, some 50, 60 years. There's just not a lot of people. So, it's important that, we got to be a good example for the younger guys to show that, as you age, you can still stay in the martial arts. That's one of the things that I always hate when I see somebody get a black belt and then they quit.
Then they disappear. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and because it's like that's the beginning level. That's when you're just getting the fun starts at black belt.
Now you almost know what you're doing now.
Yeah, right. You just have got the basics, and then then you move on to the advanced movements and techniques, and that's where, like I said, that's where the fun is.
That's exactly where it is. And that's where everything seems so flawless at that point. You just, not that you've mastered everything, but your eyes open up to so much more. It's really cool.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm talking about. You're at that level, and it's really cool. Now, do you train in anything else? Do you do like weapons, blades or pistol or anything like that?
I'm an avid shooter.
All right.
I love going to the range and shooting. I haven't done it as much recently just because of my schedule,
Yeah.
but I have a really good friend who is a police officer down in Rhode Island, and he's an avid shooter too. So we always talk guns, and I
Nice.
am fortunate enough to be right near the SIG Academy
Okay. All
here in
right.
New Hampshire. So whenever I get a chance to get down there, I always try to go down there and look, have my want list.
Yeah, right. You go there and dream a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love the same here, man. I'm an avid shooter, and I love talking to guys. I had a guy on Alex Kogan from Misha Training Center. He was on one of the episodes, and
Yes,
we had
I remember. I
great
listened
time.
to it. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! I'm glad you did, man. It's great stuff. Let me ask you this: being a shooter, as a it's a question I like asking. Appendix carry or no?
Hip.
Okay, got it. That's all right.
Yeah,
Er,
I like to have it on my kind of side rear hip, and for me
Okay.
that just seems to be the most comfortable draw that I've tried it everywhere, but that's the one that I like the best.
Hey, to each his own. And nothing's wrong with that, because I used to carry it basically the same at 4 o'clock before. Then my shoulders are so bad, I couldn't grab fast enough. So I started training from appendix, and
Oh,
I love
okay. Yeah.
appendix. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can see where that if your shoulders bothering you, that carrying back there is not always, it's not easy to draw.
It's not at all. And
Yeah.
I was training with a guy, and we were talking, and he was a big guy, and we were just talking about, place, self defense and all this stuff. And I used to, when I was carrying there, and I was thinking about going to appendix, and he was like, the best place carries your appendix is if you're on your back, someone takes you down on your back, you got to reach your weapon. I was like, huh,
Good point. Good
okay,
point.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's good advice.
yeah. You learn something new every day, man.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever think you'll get into blades at all?
I'm also into blades. One of the things that we do in HapKido, we have a bunch of subset martial arts that are part of HapKido. So one of them is HapKi, which is the sword,
Okay.
and we have the short knife, which is like Japanese would call it a tanto. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, and we also use the fan, and we use the jangbong, the walking cane.
Yep.
We have quite a few weapons. The rope, belt or rope techniques.
Okay. Wow. Which one's your favorite one, though? Which one is you say you're other than, 'cause I know at your level you have to be, basically proficient in all of them. But what's the one you say this is what I want to do?
Okay, can I just say what's my favorite today?
Yeah, there you go. Let's do that.
Okay, because it varies. It varies. I've always loved the sword, and
Okay.
I've been training in it since the early '90s at some degree or another. But right now, I really love the jangbong, which is in Japanese they'd call it the jo staff, and I
Okay.
just love. I love how every weapon that we use in Hapkido Kwansul, the principles are in the jangbong. So everything that we do with the short staff, it translates into empty hand. It translates into sword techniques. It translates into every single thing that we do.
Okay. Makes
And
sense.
so, and I like the thing I like about the short staff is that you can carry that wherever you want to go, and it's legal.
Okay. That's what's that
And
3 that's 3 feet, right? Or no?
it's actually 48 inches is
48
like
inches?
the standard, but there's many Joe staffs that are a little shorter, a little longer. It just depends
Okay.
on somebody's preference. The ones that I have one that's 48 inches, and then I have one that's a little shorter, just because I wanted something a little shorter. But
Okay. Yeah.
it's kind of a personal preference.
That's pretty cool that you know those. That's really good, man. You can carry it wherever you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
I know one time when my wife and I were in Korea, we found these pretty cool rattan walking canes for and they
Ah,
were for martial arts training, and they were really the price was really good on them. It was like a few dollars, and so I said I'm going to buy us each one of those. And the only problem is you can't really fit them in your luggage, so you have to carry them on the plane, and you can because they're a legal tool.
wow. So you're
You know,
carrying
you
a
don't have
weapon
to.
on the plane.
You can carry a weapon on the plane as long as it doesn't look like a weapon.
Okay. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
Now, you
yeah.
mentioned your wife was over there. Does she train also?
Oh yeah, she's been training almost as long as I have. That's one of the things that I feel very thankful for is that we've done this together. We've been married. It will be 35 years in July,
Oh,
and
congratulations, brother.
we're a good team. We stuck together, and we train every night in martial arts, and it's been a good thing for both of us.
That's cool. And it probably helps the marriage too. When you get mad, you put on some gloves and you both spar for it, right? No?
Yeah, but she always beats me.
Right?
Don't tell anybody that.
I won't tell anybody. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Did you guys meet in the arts too? Is that how you guys got together or no?
No, actually, we met before I started training. As I had mentioned that my brother, who is the person that got me interested in HapKido. He had got started training in a HapKido school. So I was like, wow, I'm going to look and try to find one down here in New Hampshire because I was living here at the time. And so my wife and I got married. We met each other at the church that we were going to. And so I started looking for a martial arts school, and I found the Tae Kwon Do school. And then we both, I started first, and then my wife started shortly after I did.
Wow, that's cool, man. I love that kind of stuff, man. That's pretty cool. Couples together, training together, living together, man.
Yeah,
That's good
yeah.
stuff, man. My buddy, like I said, over at Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, him and his wife, they both run. They're both black belts, and they both are mean. So
Me, right? They have to be, right?
they have to be, man. They're brutal, man, but they know their stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Now,
that's good.
you're also an author. I'm telling you, all the stuff that you're doing is pretty cool, man. When did you write your book?
I had it published in 2019. One of the things that I've always been a passion of mine is researching and studying the history of HapKido, and primarily the founder of HapKido, Dukum Choi Young Sul. And I've really, I've gone to Korea and I've interviewed a lot of his older students over the
Oh, wow.
years, and that's been like something that I've really loved doing, and I've learned so much from so many different people. It's been a really good journey.
Wow. What's the title of the book?
It's HapKido Past, Present, and Future, and it's a small book, but it just kind of I just talk about some of the things from the past and the present, where we're at, and then where we're going to go, where we're headed in the future.
Oh man, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Now, where can I find that book?
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I'll be looking at that. That's pretty neat, man. That's pretty neat. Now, does it have graphs and all that stuff too for different techniques, or is it all just not telling stories, but talking through everything?
Yeah, actually, it is kind of telling stories. Part of the book is me telling my story of
Okay.
my history and my training. That's kind of how it begins. But there were no techniques in it. I didn't want to do a technique book because I just didn't I didn't want to take I didn't have the time to go through all the figuring out what you were going to put into a book. So
Yeah.
that I'm talking to Grandmaster Park, and hopefully I'll get him to be able to get on doing a book for HapKido Kwon Sul here in the future. So.
Oh wow, man! And you also were in Taekwondo Times magazine, right?
Yeah, I've written several articles for Taekwondo Times. The latest one was I think it was July of last year. I had one in Taekwondo Times, and that was about Grandmaster Rim Jong Bae and Grandmaster Park Sang Jung of HapKido Kwon Do, because I'm very passionate. I love what HapKido Kwon Do is, and I like the history of it too. It's just really interesting and
Yeah.
um, very deep history.
Wow, man, I love that stuff, man. That's pretty cool. You know so much about it, and that's awesome. Now, you also started doing some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a couple years, right?
Yeah, when in 1997 is when I started my first school, and then I ended up closing my dojang that I was running. I think it was 2007, and so at that time, I started teaching HapKido at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school in a town near me. And when I was, one of the things about teaching is that I was able to train, with some of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, and it was really interesting. A lot of the stuff was stuff that I was familiar with, but just a little different way of a different curriculum than what I was doing in Hapkido. But it was good. I enjoyed the training.
Yeah.
And I never took any rank or anything, but I know some of my good friends and students in Hapkido had gone on to get black belts and continue to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's really cool. See, mine was I always wanted to learn it, but I just couldn't find the right school, and I finally found one. And it's just like my instructor always said, when you get a certain level of at a certain, like say, brown to black belt, you have to find something else to fill those holes because he believed that every art has holes. You just got to fill those holes, and I just believe
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu helped me out a lot.
Yeah, good. That's one of the things that I didn't continue with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, um, and I know that there's a lot of really good things in there, but I always my passion was always the real traditional martial arts, and not that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't traditional, but more traditional Korean martial arts,
Yeah, I know what
and
you're
that's
saying.
just
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
where my passion was at.
But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. You mastered it all. That's good stuff, man. So
Well,
what's
I don't know
next
if
for
I've
you?
mastered it all. I'm still working every day on everything. So
There you go. Well, you're not a white belt anymore. Let's go with that. How's that?
right.
Now, what's next for you out there?
It just I think for me, I'm just training every day. Trying to keep my discipline, train every day. One of the things that I really like to focus on is I start my day with meditation.
Okay.
I first of all I do a devotional.
Oh, awesome.
For those that are religious, I always start with that, and then I do a meditation, and then I do some breathing exercises, and I just try to really keep that routine every day. Of course, if I'm traveling, I have to adjust things a little bit to do the traveling, but most days I'm doing those things every single day, and now I've gotten to the point where it's a habit, so it's not I just do it. I just get up in the morning and that's what I do.
Oh, that's good habits, man. That's very, very similar, man. I do the same thing, Bible study first thing, and then I do my stretching, and then my day started, man. So we have a lot
Yeah.
in common. That's
Yes,
pretty
yes,
cool, man.
and I think that kind of goes back to our experience. I think when we're younger, maybe we don't always have those kind of habits, but
Right.
as we age and we live life and we have the ups and downs of life, we learn that having those habits and discipline is what we need to keep doing it, to keep doing
Yeah.
life and to keep doing martial arts. And that's just something that I believe pretty strongly.
That's awesome, man. Wow. Now, do you have any kids at all, or
No kids, but I call
okay?
my Taekwondo kids. They're our kids.
There you go.
We,
You got a
we
bunch of kids.
yeah, and it's funny. I one of the kids that I had that was training with me back in the early 2000s. I saw him the other day, and he was like 6'5",
Oh.
and I'm like, oh. Yeah, I didn't recognize him actually. He came up to me and hey, Master Miller, and I'm like, who are you? But I recognized him after a little bit, so it was nice.
Oh, that had to be a joy for you, man. Somebody you haven't
Yeah,
seen in forever that you trained. That's
yeah.
cool. Now, let me ask you this. What's the difference about where you are now from where you were 5 years ago in your training, in your spiritual walk, in your, your life, period?
Yeah, well, that as I was saying, it's been my habit that I've created by getting up early. I generally get up by 4 o'clock every morning, and I have this routine that I run through, and I do that every day, and that is really helped me more than I can even put into words, because it's helped my mind to stay focused on the things I need to stay focused on, and it's helped me to do my training every day. So I'm not only mentally more fit, I'm physically more fit. And, when I'm learning techniques, I can learn the techniques quicker and, with more ease.
Okay.
And,
Nice.
and also, and also for my training perspective, I really got to give a shout out to Grandmaster Park, because I started training with him just almost 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years this year, but and he really gave me what I needed at that time to move ahead in my training, because I was kind of at a stagnant place. I wasn't really improving. And, just by him giving me simple exercises to do, that it really helped me to move beyond where I was, and now I've found, because I'm following those drills and exercises and conditioning, that I keep moving forward, and it's slow. There's nothing that happens quick
yeah.
in martial arts training, but it's slow, and I just keep progressing, and that's really what I want. I want to, when I turn 80 years old, I want to be improving on my 80th birthday. I don't want to just be
Wow.
settling in for what I have today. I want to keep getting a little better, and sometimes it might just be my mental state, my meditation, but it all kind of works together.
Oh man, that needs to be in your book, your new book, man. That's pretty wild. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I've
impactful,
been,
man.
as I said, I've been trying to talk with Grandmaster Park to maybe maybe work together with him on a HapKido book, kind of focused on the original HapKido from Dugam Choi and his teacher Grandmaster Rim Jong Bae. Just because I think that would be it's a good story to tell, and I think people
Yeah.
would enjoy it.
That's awesome. And just listen to stuff you're doing. I tell you, that will help so many people. Because we look around and see society today, and I'm not going to bash our society. We still have a great country, a great everything. We have some pockets we need to fill, though.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
think those things you're talking about, meditating, set yourself in the track to keep moving forward. Man, if you put that in a book, I think that thing will sell like hotcakes. We need more of that every
Yes,
day,
sir.
man.
Thank you, sir. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think that one of the things that I've kind of learned, sometimes we in life we find people that are maybe not super nice, but when we look at people, like people want to be happy,
Yeah.
and they want to have joy, but sometimes they just don't know how. And I think a lot of it is just how we've been conditioned as a society. And
Yeah.
there's good conditioning too. And I think martial arts, for the most part, is good conditioning. You're learning discipline. You're learning that you got to train every day. Those kind of things are valuable lessons. And
Yeah.
especially learning about character development. Like one of the things that I always teach my kids, and I always say, you say yes, sir,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. When you're in school, those things never grow old.
Right. Right.
And when you grow up and you learn to do that, your life will be better. It's it's
I,
it's
I believe you're
good
right.
respect.
There it is. There it is. Respect. That's it. When you show respect to yourself and to others, wow, your life will
Yeah.
change.
And it really doesn't matter at like even if you're out on the street and there's somebody that's struggling in life, they still deserve respect. You see somebody that's homeless, they still deserve respect. And I think that's something that everybody needs to have, especially guys like us as martial artists. We need to respect everybody and show compassion and kindness to everybody. And that's a big thing with me. I really want to show kindness to every person I meet. Try to make everybody's life a little better.
That's awesome, man. You know, that's so true. Because I think I read this somewhere. Someone said it, because you never know what someone else is going through that day. That smile you give someone that hey, what's up, brother? Anything you may give that person is positive, may pull them through whatever the bad thing they were planning on doing to that day for themselves. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You never know.
Exactly. We don't know how far a kind word or a smile goes. It goes into eternity.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's right, man. And I believe it leaves a spark in somebody's life. I really do, man. That big smile when you look at someone, pat them on the back, or you just smile and wave at them. One thing I like to do, and it's a weird thing, I just do it. If I notice someone's shoes, I always compliment them on their shoes. Always. You know, and that whatever reason for it, they always put a big smile. Oh, thank you. Give them some compliments. That's pretty awesome, man.
That's great, Tony. I'm going to have to steal that from you.
And you can put it on the shirt, too.
You got it.
Well, brother, I tell you, this has been awesome, man. Todd, man, you just listen to the things you're saying. Brother, I know you will, and I hope you put it out fast. That new book, man, because I think you have a lot to offer society. The world needs it, man. But before I get you out of here, because I know you got things you got to get done, you got classes to teach, tell everyone how they can find you, your Facebook, your email, your website, your phone number, because I really want people to reach out and grab a hold of you.
Yeah, they can look me up on Facebook. Just Todd Miller is what I use on Facebook, and anybody that's interested in training, you can look me up, or you can look up K Martial Arts Center in Ellicott City, Maryland. That's Grandmaster Park, and we do a lot of our work is together. He's our headmaster, and that anybody that's from out of town, feel free to contact him, and you know what, we'll get on the mat together. That's one of the things that we do. We don't just talk about training. We get on the mat, we train, and we love life.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. I love that. Loving life. Well, guys, that's been Todd Miller. This man, look him up, find him, look at all his stuff out there, look for his book. My gosh, guys, he's got what it takes out there. Look him up. But Todd, I appreciate you more than you know, brother, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk with us today. Looking forward to doing number 2 down the road, brother.
All right, sounds good, brother. Appreciate the time and having me on here. Very kind.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
Oh, man.